Continue, sir. My supreme namaskarams to sir and madam Ratnabhrao garu and Sailaja garu respectively. And my supreme namaskarams to Dr. Padmanabhrao garu and his daughter Sailaja garu, and best wishes to all of you. I am really with pleasure speaking to all of you today. Very important topic connected to Constitution and fundamental rights and amendment of the Constitution. We know in India we fought for various fundamental rights and we got Constitution, and in the Constitution we are having many rights, especially fundamental rights. In respect of those fundamental rights, you are fully aware that Article 21 gives us right to life and protection of life. No person shall be deprived of his personal liberty or protection of law, protection of life, except with due process of law. And right to freedom of speech and expression under Article 19. Once you are put in any custody, whether legal or illegal, you are losing all those rights. Now the question is, false complaints are being given by the parties in order to trouble the opponents or others. And what is happening? Basing on that false complaint, illegally, that person is taken to custody. Suppose if a person gives a complaint to police, which is a false complaint, by putting some sections, let us say nowadays the section 120A is being used very frequently in order to see that the person against whom the complaint is given doesn't get the bail. Likewise, there are many sections under which readily bail is not given. So a complaint is given and that complaint is registered by the police with the same sections which are put in that complaint, because the police have got no discretion at the time of registering a complaint. They have to register the complaint as per the contents given in the complaint and the sections mentioned in it in all probabilities, because the complainant definitely puts ingredients to attract the sections which are put in the complaint, which are mentioned in the complaint. So the police have no discretion at that time to avoid a particular section, because the duty of the police is to register the complaint and put the sections which are mentioned in it or which are attractable basing on the contents in that complaint. So we can't blame the police at that stage. But after registration of FIR under section 154 CRPC, Criminal Procedure Code, the police have to investigate that complaint. At the time of investigation or during course of it, if the police find that so-and-so sections which are put in the FIR are not attractable, they can alter or change the sections, whatever it is. Now the point is, what is the method and manner in which the police have to conduct and how they are conducting, violating the fundamental rights and violating the constitution. We are having important provisions in Criminal Procedure Code. We discussed earlier about section 54 and some other sections. Today, I want to speak to you two important sections in CRPC and Indian Penal Code and Evidence Act. Some of the important sections. Section 160 CRPC says that if anybody is required to give a statement as a witness or otherwise, that person can be called by the police to come and give his statement or witness in accordance with law. What that section says? It says that any police officer making an investigation under this chapter may, by order in writing, so he has to give an order in writing, require the attendance before himself of any person being within the limits of his own or any adjoining station who from the information given or otherwise appears to be acquainted with the facts and circumstances of case, and such person shall attend as so required. So such order can be given to a person who is living within his jurisdiction or out of the jurisdiction. For what purpose? For attending before him if the investigating officer finds that
Sir got disconnected, maybe some network issue. Let us wait for a minute. There's Sivanandini here. Which school are you studying?
College, ma'am.
College, which college?
Chaitanya,
Where Chaitanya?
Vijayawada.
Vijayawada, acha. Malyadri garu referred you, huh? How did you come to know?
No, ma'am. Group లో వచ్చింది సివిల్స్ అని చెప్పి అందుకే జాయిన్ అయినాను.
Okay, okay, ma. Very good. Sir, please continue, sir.
sir.
Please continue, sir.
Madam, computer ఏదో ల్యాప్టాప్ ఏదో ప్రాబ్లం వచ్చింది.
Yeah, no problem, sir.
Okay.
Power cut, sir?
Power cut, madam. No problem.
Yeah.
If the investigating officer finds that the person who is required to attend before him is acquainted with the facts and circumstances of the case which is before him. So a person gives a false complaint, and then the investigating officer, he has got every right to call somebody who has got giving an order. Court. Or before the investigation answer the police officer person being before the police officer. Now that person is in custody of that person, police officer. Police officer is required, as I already stated in my previous class, under section 55 of CRPC. What to do by a medical officer if that medical officer is not of central or state government, and in case such medical officer is not available, by a registered medical officer. What is next? After the judicial long distance arrest to keep that person with him and produce him before the concerned magistrate. In days, there is no TV, there is no cell phone, there is no recording, only oral regarding arrest. So what the police were doing, they used to o'clock, but show the time of arrest maybe as per the, to them after 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock or one day afterwards. They to keep him in illegal custody. This is first thing. Keep him in illegal custody because they have to produce within 24 hours, and so they left for conducting 24 hours when that fellow is with the police. So they were having sufficient time, so they used to keep that person in police custody. Generally, it is called illegal because the arrest is not shown. If the arrest is shown, then we can say 1 minute. If the arrest is shown, then it is legal. And legal custody also becomes illegal sometimes because after the arrest by the police officer, the arrested person shall be produced before the concerned magistrate in all circumstances as early as possible within reasonable time, and that reasonable time shall not exceed 24 hours plus the journey time required for going to magistrate court from the police station and for bringing that person to police station. So journey time is excluded, and 24 hours is the time before which, as early as possible, within reasonable time, within that 24 hours, he shall be produced before the concerned magistrate. This is what the law. So they are having less time. So what they used to do, they used to keep him with them in illegal custody. That is how this illegal custody has become very important because unless and until some information is got from that person, the person who is alleged to have committed an offense, in connection with the offenses which are alleged to have been committed by that person, it is very difficult for the police to conduct investigation and get the truth before the court, punish the concerned accused. Then in India, we know third degree methods, third degree torture or third degree interrogation. You all must have heard about this word third degree interrogation or illegal custody. What is this third degree interrogation? What do you mean by third degree? Then if it is third degree, then what is first degree or second degree? We must know about it. Definitely there will be some questions regarding to this third degree interrogation or physical torture or harassment by the police of any person. Third degree interrogation is or amounts to resorting to physical torture by police. Interrogation of a prisoner by the police involving the infliction of mental or physical suffering for what purpose? In order to bring a confession or to extract some information. This is called third degree interrogation. Then what is first degree? What is second degree? Is there any definition anywhere in law regarding this first degree, second degree, third degree? No. These are all unofficial words, but very frequently used by one and all connected to legal system and have got much significance. So you must know what is called first degree, second degree, and third degree. We have our legal system established by British people and continued by us. So regarding these first, second, third degrees, there are certain different definitions. So far as America and some other countries connected to American system, there is some other meaning than that of the meaning given in India and England. One Mr. Richard H. Sylvester. Who is this Mr. Richard H. Sylvester? He is the chief of police in Washington in 1890 or 1870. He coined this word, this phrase, third degree torture, third degree interrogation. According to him, the police procedures can be classified into three. One is the arrest is the first degree. First degree means arrest of a person, whether it is legal or illegal. It is, according to him, arrest is legal. A legal arrest is the first degree. The second degree is the transportation to jail. Taking that person who is arrested to jail is the second degree. Then the third degree is the interrogation. Interrogation by the police is the third degree, according to him. But you know very well, so far as India is concerned, the things are different. He called that third degree interrogation by the police is third degree is during the interrogation, police involving the infliction of mental or physical suffering in order to bring a confession or to extract information from that person. So we have understood very, very clearly what is the meaning of, what are the meanings of first degree, second degree, and third degree as per the American system. Let us see how in England and India these words are coined and used. Most of the prevailing laws that are now in force in India were enacted under British rule. At that time, the officers were either Britishers or Anglo-Indians, and constabulary was the natives. So for entering into the good books of the officers, constables resorted to unlawful methods of interrogation, like third degree. So during British regime, the constables are the natives of India. The other officers are either Anglo-Indians or Britishers. So in order to see that they are in good books of the officers, these constables who are of India, natives of India, resorted to unlawful methods of interrogation like third degree. Because the framers of the law are aware, to avoid this sort of third degree methods, in Indian Evidence Act, section 25 and 26 are enacted. What are these sections 25 and 26? They say that the statement recorded by police is inadmissible in court unless witness appears before the court and deposes according to the statement and gets subjected to cross-examination by defense lawyer. So police records the statement and the witness comes before the court. He gives that statement again before the police, and the opposite lawyer, the lawyer of the accused or the arrested person, has got a right to cross-examine that person. So these are the protections given to a individual who is arrested by the police. So third degree methods are the inadvisable shortcuts, but in the light of the increased crime rates and shortage of manpower in police force, many officers are attempted to use such methods. Even some of the new generation officers are commonly impatient. Why? Due to immaturity and lack of experience. So what they do, they simply use these third degree methods. Third degree methods means using some force in order to touch that person. We have understood what is meant by first degree, second degree, third degree in USA. In USA, first degree means arrest. Second degree means transportation to jail. Third degree means then torture. But in India, it is otherwise. Like, there is no official third degree or any degree of torture mentioned anywhere in any police manual or police rules. So first degree, second degree, third degree, all these are all just coined in order to understand what has actually happened. But unofficially, these have been existing since British times. What is first degree in India? First degree involves giving threats of violence and dummy hits, like pretending to punch but deliberately not hitting the subject. Most ordinarily, civilians are supposed to break with this only. So first degree means not touching the fellow, but giving a threat to him that we will use violence, or just behave as if going to hit the person who is before you, either as a witness or as a accused. This is first degree. In America, first degree means arrest. In India, first degree means giving threats of violence and dummy hits, like pretending to punch but deliberately not hitting the subject. Generally, Indians, even if you shout at them, if the person shouting is a police officer, they break and tell the truth or whatever it is. This is first degree. Second degree involves actual physical beatings. So second degree means here beatings. But for second degree in America means transportation to jail. So in India, second degree means actual physical beatings that does not involve risk of causing death or structural damage. So if there is no damage, structural damage like bone fracture, teeth smash, etc., but can cause grievous hurt, like burning a fellow with cigarettes to the base of the feet, palm of the hand, thighs, buttocks, etc. These types of things are called as second degree. So physical beatings are there, causing grievous hurt, but there is no structural damage or attempting or causing death of a person. So this is second degree. Third degree involves a level of torture. So in third degree, definitely torture is there. Probability of causing death or structural damage. This is what the difference between India and the US. So we understand now what is called physical torture or violence of a person, either who is a witness or accused by the police officers when they are in custody of you. So when they violate all these things, then what are the sections that are available for taking action against those police officers who are guilty of torturing a person? There are two important sections in Indian Penal Code. One is section 330. Another is section 331. Section 330 is an offense which is voluntary causing hurt to extract confession or to compel restoration of property. So in order to restore some property or get a confession from a fellow, if you beat that fellow, then section 330 is applicable. The punishment is up to 7 years and also fine. So both imprisonment and also payment of fine. If it is causing grievous hurt to extract confession or to compel restoration of property, then section 331 of Indian Penal Code. So the punishment is 10 years and also fine. So now we understand that section 330 and 331 of IPC gives power or makes a person who is guilty of physical torture of another person or causing violence to that person is punishable under section 330 and 331 CRPC. There is another section 357 giving power to the judge to give compensation for the person who is arrested in connection with causing illegal torture to a person and finally found guilty of that offense, to give compensation. This is what we understand. Now, what is happening? To violate the fundamental rights and to keep a person in illegal custody, the police are resorting by putting some sections which are cognizable, like 120A CRPC, 120A IPC, and then because it is a cognizable offense punishable with life imprisonment, that person cannot be given bail immediately. So his rights are infringed. So the Honorable Supreme Court has held recently, day before yesterday, what it says is, if any person is alleged to have committed an offense under section 120 IPC, then we have to see whether that person has violated any restrictions that are imposed against him while exercising his right to freedom of speech and really made for any treason of the government or tried to fall down the government, and there was any community clashes and all that. So this is what regarding that offense. Recent case that was decided day before yesterday regarding a journalist while considering his right to freedom of speech and expression. The Honorable Supreme Court, by considering the judgment of 1962 in Kedarnath Singh case, clearly held that right to freedom of speech includes right to freedom of press, and when the press doesn't not cross limits, the government cannot put that section in order to punish that fellow just because he or she or that particular channel criticized the government. So fair criticism is permissible whenever press or citizen has been using his or its right to freedom of speech and expression. So that section 120A is not applicable as per the judgment of Honorable Supreme Court in 1962 in Kedarnath Singh case. And this senior journalist, Mr. Vinod Dua, who is my senior in Delhi, was arrested in Himachal Pradesh in connection with his making a criticism in his YouTube show against Prime Minister Narendra Modi regarding some policy matters. The Honorable Justice UU Lalit, Justice Vinit Sharan, Division Bench held that if a journalist is having 10 years experience as a journalist, then the committee at state level must give permission for registering an FIR against that person. And this proposal put by Vinod Dubey is not accepted by the Supreme Court. Though the Supreme Court held that right to freedom of speech and expression of that journalist is violated due to registering an FIR under section 120A CRPC, 120B or 120A CRPC against that person. The proposal that was put for taking permission from the state level committee for registering an FIR against a journalist, if he has crossed 10 years experience as a journalist, is not accepted by the Supreme Court. Then there is hue and cry now saying that police have to exercise discretion at the time of registering FIR while putting any sections which are not cognizable, which are non-cognizable. But unfortunately, as per CRPC section 154 CRPC, the police has no discretion. They have to do all the acts under the as per the law under section 154 CRPC by registering the FIR, by putting the sections which are mentioned in the complaint, and ingredients also shows that sections are applicable. It is only during investigation the police can alter the offenses that are alleged to have been committed by the accused. Now, let us see, in terms of constitutional rights, fundamental rights, Article 21 and Article 19, the journalist, while exercising the right to freedom of speech and expression, if they cross limits, if they violate their right to freedom of speech and expression, and then they try to see that government falls down or government is taken away by them by making violence, then this section 120 A and B. 120 A is definition of criminal conspiracy. 120 B is punishment for criminal conspiracy, and 121 A, 21 A and 21. These things are regarding waging or attempting to wage war against the police, against the government. With this, now we are having a latest case law with us, which I have already stated to you regarding fundamental rights and all that. Now let us see in respect of amendments. We were discussing about the amendments previously, and we have in detail discussed the other day about the various
Shall we
amendments.
join once again, sir?
Madam.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Please join again, students.